Good evening. How are you? Today it was a hot day, was it? It was nice. And I'm so happy because I have my office out in nature. So that's the best way to do work. So I hope I didn't lose anyone during the presentations until now. But feel free to ask questions so that everyone, I'm sure, understood what I wanted to say. So let's repeat a little bit. We have stress because we try something that is possible or impossible. Impossible. We have fear because we try something that is possible or impossible. Impossible. We have conflicts and depression because we try something that is impossible. That is, we try to control others, and now you know why. Why? You only can try something that you cannot do if you think you can. Yes? Would you ever try? I make this experiment with my patients, and maybe here I find someone. If I would tell you, take speed and walk through this wall, would you do it? Any volunteer here? Why not? What is stopping you to do it? You know by reason it is impossible. So if it's impossible, you don't try it. But this, you don't know that it's impossible. That's why reason can stop you. You still try it. You still try the impossible because you think you can do it. Maybe one day I find one who thinks he can do it. And he might get injured because he cannot go through that wall. So the reason why we are unreasonable is because we try something that is impossible, but we try it because we think we can do it. And so, how can a human then be convinced that he cannot do it? By the result of trying to go through the wall. And that's what we do. Spiritually, we don't see the wall. But we see the results because we get all kinds of bruises on our body because there is no way to go through the wall. So that's why in our reason we must process the information. Can I go through or can I not go through? But I must have a scale that says to me, I cannot penetrate that wall. Now physically you see it, but spiritually you don't see it. Now if reason would work like this, everything would be fine. But now we have seen that we are unreasonable because we think, I am God, and then the information that comes in, it still need to be truth. But what is now the truth? What is now the truth? Who is the measurement? It's me. That's why I am the scale, so my own subjective evaluation comes and my interpretation is wrong. I just today was tempted, and I usually when I shave or do something that I don't need to think so much, I just listen to some talks or whatever it is. And this morning I got an email about neuroplasticity, and I thought, let's give it a try. And so I listened to it. And when I listened to that, until I could switch the program on YouTube, you get the next one about neuroplasticity, and then In this evening, while I was eating, I said, let's continue that, what I started. And then there was a German guy who tries to explain the thoughts. And I said, let's see how he says, where are the thoughts? And now he comes up with this very interesting idea. He says, the thought is between the cells. Now, how can he ever come up with that idea? And you hear the other one that says, you know what neuroplasticity means? What does it mean? The brain changes itself. Possible or impossible? Why is it impossible? Because there is no perpetuum mobile. There is nothing that can change itself. On physical level, this thing will always stay here, except someone moves it. The brain must be moved to do anything because it listens to commands. But now we come up, everyone with his own ideas. The one has the idea, the thought is between the cells. The other says, it is there. The other says, it's that. Who can you believe? I hope none. Because we must have something that is more than subjective, even though we see it. So what would make us as physicians, or let's see, as health professionals, to be all united in the way we see things? What would that be? Well, yes. Let's see. I took an image of a construction of a building. You see here this gentleman. What is he doing? He's reading a plan. He's reading a building plan. Yes? Why does he need that plan? Why does he need that plan? Can you build a house without a plan? So, how many workers do you need to build a good house? How many workers? Well, yeah. But let's see, this is a big project. What would unite the workers on a building plan, on a building place? Well, does the plan unite them? So they have in need of building material. They need tools. Do they need tools? Different tools. I was walking this morning on a street where there was working, and I saw this the first time. Maybe New Zealand is the only country, I don't know. But I saw how they digged a channel, a ditch, you know. They make it with and then they go from one hole 50 meters to the next hole, or 20 meters, yeah, underneath, so that they can put it in. And there were many workers there. What unites these workers on that spot? Because everyone has his own mind. Does he have his own mind? Everyone wants to do the right. What unites the worker on that spot? Well, they have a goal. Yes, they are paid. But they still need to use their mind. What unites them? No, they have a purpose. You see, when you get into marriage, both have what kind of a purpose? They want to have a good purpose, yes? And where do they end up?
He's saying progress.
Yeah, progress, but they are with a marriage. You say purpose. You know, when you marry, how many of those two have a good purpose? Are they united in the purpose? Yes. Where do they end up? Well, it must be good. They mostly of today you get up and divorce. Yeah, they are not united. Why not? What would unite workers? What would unite physicians to be one? Now the plan, what is the problem? Why can the plan not unite us? No, because everyone reads it differently. What would help us to read the plan all the same? A common scale. You see, every mind on that building or construction site is different. All have different ideas, different skills. But no one will come up and fight against the scale, will they? No. And everyone goes according to that, because with the scale they read the plan, and with the scale they look and say, oh, 1 meter is like this, or one comes and says, no, a meter is not like this, it's like this. So who's right? So imagine you are on a construction site and you have no scale. Would everything work ever? No. Now let's apply this to the physicians. Yes? The worker is, now of course you need power for it at all, yeah? So don't forget the power. So apply this to the physician. What is the plan? What is the plan for a physician? It's the human structure. Yes? The building plan is the human structure, how the human was built. You need to know anatomy and physiology and all this, yes? That's the plan. Can you get out of it? No. You must stick to the plan. So what is the building material? It's the human being, yes? Want to fix him? The tools are how many? We have many tools. I call them the methods. But what would unite all physicians to be one? Because they must have the same law by which they read the plan. And when I was listening today to this small talks on TED about the brain and neuroplasticity, I wondered, how blind can we be to not see that a brain cannot think or a brain cannot mold itself? It's impossible. The law does not permit that this hand moves itself. It must be moved. Imagine you would come up and said, my hand moves itself. Would you think that person is wise? No, but when it comes to the brain, suddenly it's possible. No one would say the hand moves itself. But when it comes to the brain, all things go away. So the greatest problem in science is, and I would say also in religion, is that we don't have a law by which to orient 100%. And if this is not convincing you, nothing can convince us. Because this is for sure unchangeable. You can do whatever you want. You can try whatever you want to try. But it will be always with no effect. This is why I'm so happy that I built all my thinking and my study on something I cannot change with my mind. And the power would be love. Wouldn't that be nice if physicians would love? Yes? So, I need a foundation which I cannot change by the way I think. I cannot come up with ideas from my own without checking them according to the basic law of nature. Without checking them that they fit to the structure and function. Without checking them if I took in consideration the needs of man. So this was a little bit of a repetition, and just remember that all our problems, whatever we have in life, is because of our relationships. Why are our relationships so important? Why are they more important than food, than anything else? Why? Because they involve the need of love. Our relationships are the most important because we need love. And how are relationships, visible or invisible? Do you see the relationship cord? Do you see anything? No. So how is it? It's pure, invisible. But do you think it exists or not? Yes. You don't see the relationship, but it's there. Because you need to connect to someone. But how do you connect? Because your brain is separated. Your body is separate. Or are you intercalated? No? Is it? No. We are separated, but we are still connected by chains that are invisible. And if one moves that direction, the other must move the same. And it's invisible, but it must be there because we need love. And all our problems, you see, on the body, I can see the relationships mirrored. Yeah? This is why if the body would not get an impulse through what I think, on my body would be seen nothing about my relationships. Nothing. But my body is governed by what I think about my wife. And if I have loving thoughts, works well. If I have judging thoughts, I get blisters or whatever. Because the body is a thing that works by what I think. My spirit works with love, and my body works with electricity. So let's go back shortly into our subconscious. We all know in the will we are different, but in the subconscious we are all the same. How many criteria do we have to take a decision? 2. Only gain and loss. Now, how many decisions do I have? 2 decisions, yes and no. The yes is always connected to gain, and the loss is always connected to no. You only can take a wrong decision, or you only can take that which is a loss. Come in. You only can take a gain, or you will only take a loss to say yes to a loss if it is sold to you as a gain. That's the only possibility. And you will only say no to a gain if it's sold to you as a loss. Because you cannot do different. You must say no to loss. Now, this is a mechanism no one can change because the subconscious is function. No one can change that. We are having yes, 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 and no, no. So, now that what determines our putting things in the criteria is the eyesight. That is, by which law do I know how I get to gain and how I get to avoid loss? And so we know it's either receive or give, not receive or not give or keep. And we saw yesterday that at the bottom of all problems is that you consider the problem personal. If a child is killed, it's the greatest damage possible. But if it's not your child, you will say it's a terrible thing, but you will let it where it is. But if it is your child, you cannot let it where it is. You must go against it, and you must have possibility to change. I mean, can you bring the child back to life? Yes or no? I had a gentleman who came into my practice because his left ear was sick now for 5 years. It didn't work properly, and he just was in a recovering therapy in a clinic close to my practice, so he was not local there to me. And when he came and he had 5 years this issue on his left ear, of course I was interested what else did he have in his body. And he told me that 5 years ago he lost his manhood. He's 49 then he was 44. So he could have no intimate relationships anymore. He lost it. Now, when a man loses his ability for sexuality, does he have a great loss or a little loss? Great loss. It was 6 years ago, or 9 years ago, I think, when his child was killed by a car accident. His little girl, she was 6 years old, was selling on the street cherries. And she wanted to go over the street to get some new supply. And the fast car driver came and killed the child. So this man is a prisoner, is he? Because he cannot take his child back, because he thinks it is his. But imagine it would have been the child of his neighbor. What would have happened with him? Would he have get any problems? Why not? Because it was not his loss. You see, friends, if we ever want to get away with our problems, we must see that they are always not personal. Easy or not easy? Not easy, because we have this identity that we think we are God. So if you're a God, it's your property. It must be your child. But we can prove that neither you made it, or did you make the child? Neither you nor your wife did make the child. You just contributed to it. Yes? The half things that you give, that child should exist, you did not make yourself. You inherited from your parents, and the parents from the other ones. And so everyone has everything that he has as an inheritance. So how much can you claim the inheritance to be yours? Can you? No, it's passed on to you by someone else. You got it for free. I mean, you didn't do anything about it. So it cannot be yours. But if you think in your subconscious, it's mine, then when you lose it, you must destroy your body. So this gentleman, I asked him, how often does he think on his child? What did he answer? Continuously. I said, can you not change your mind? Because he was a professor of biology. And so he was a highly educated person. So I said to him, can you not think like 9 years before, or no, the child was 6, 9 plus 6 is 15. Can you not think like 15 years before you had the child? Did you miss anything before you had the child? No, you were happy. Now you have the child for 6 years, and the child passes away. Why would you not return to that same state like before to think, well, 6 years is better than nothing? Do we think like that? No. No, because we must keep that, and we must keep it for ourselves. You know how children react when you keep them for yourself? Have you ever seen how they react? Mothers? Yes. Because it's not natural to want to possess them, to want to say, you are mine. So I hope reason helps us. And the law, that it cannot be our property. And if it's our property, disease shows that it's not. I didn't see any problem except a personal loss. There's no other thing that brings us disturbance in our minds and brings the dysfunction in our brain and from our brain to the whole body by just thinking that something is personal. Now tell me, where should that personal idea come from your brain? Don't tell me. It's impossible. Where in the brain it's something personal? So the problem that we have is one of inheritance, in which we all are, I would say, deceived by thinking we are possessors while we are not. We don't see that we have no property and we cannot create. Because a creature can only take in order to give. There is no such thing that can be different than that. So our problem is one, and that is personal loss. And the heavier the loss, the greater the problem, the greater the prisonership, the greater sometimes the disease. Yeah? If the loss would not be so high, then the disease in the body is, even when it's personal, not so big. When you lose $5, will you mourn for that? No. Depends in which situation you are. But when you lose $5 million, you kill yourself. No. That's how people do it. Because they see no outcome, how they could get that personal thing back. So let's go to see how terrible the reaction is when we think we're gods. We have expectations of others, including God and myself. We have claims towards others and myself. Have you ever put yourself under pressure? Yes or no? Yes. You know why you did it? Because you wanted something possible or impossible. Yeah? You put yourself under pressure, it is because you think you can do it. You think again is the fulfillment of your claims or the fulfillment of your expectations. You think that when you don't receive what you expect, then you have a loss. You see, my dream in my life was to be happy. And what was it that I considered to be happy? I considered, since early childhood, to have a good wife and have a good family will be the fulfillment of my life. Anything wrong with it? I dreamed when I was in my first grade. I went to school at the age of 6. Guess who was my partner in my bench at school? A boy or a girl? A girl. And I was always crazy about girls. Did I choose that? No. It just came along. And with 8 already, I made plan. I said, at that time, I was raised in a very conservative Christian community, which they were preaching Jesus is coming soon. And I said, no, I want to get married first. And so, with 8, I wanted to be married. But what did I have for plans? Did I have expectations or not? You see, I just dreaming from a woman that is has a quiet spirit. Yes, that is just gentle all the time, harmonious. Yeah? Always does the homework nicely. You come home, everything is nice and put together. Isn't that nice? No, it's not a mother. I just wanted 3 things from a woman, except she should be a little bit beautiful. That's included. Because women are beautiful, yeah? It's not for all of us the same beauty, but yes, man doesn't need to be beautiful, but woman is beautiful. Yeah? So, but what I wanted from a woman was that she should understand me. Something wrong with that? I wanted that she should listen to me. I mean, not to obey my commands, because I never thought myself to be so dominant. But I wanted that she should listen to me and pay attention to my philosophy. But when I started to say something, you said, that kind of thoughts you have? And I must shrink back. Because I wanted that she should listen to me so that I can talk. You see, my son-in-law, he married one of our 2 foster girls. They once on a seminar for young people, for whatever, marriage. And then it was said that the husband should talk more, Men do not really talk so much. But we don't know the cause for it. And my son-in-law, which is married just a few years now, 4 or 5 years, he says, well, yes, we would like to talk, but in the moment we start, they already say something. And so then we learn to be gentlemen. And we sit down. Oh? You try it once, you try it twice, and then you give it alone. So that's why men do not talk. Have no room to talk. Maybe not all, but just, yeah? Yes, we are not so much talkative as humans, but I am one who likes to talk. Yes? And so, and there was a third need that I had, or expectation that I had to my wife was, whenever she rises up in the morning, she should smile. Is that nice? You see, a woman that smiles, there's nothing more good on it, isn't it? And I'm so sensitive to smile, you have no idea. When the children came up in the morning for the breakfast, yeah? And they have some issues going on in the nights, and they come to like this, and they have a not nice face. I got so nervous. I said, you have to smile in the morning. There is no need to not be happy. But what would I do? What did I do? Yes, they were they were my, yes, they were my source. I had to take from them the smile. I was the most funniest person in the hospital because I could do any joke possible. I could never sit still on the table when we were eating with the nurses or when I did surgery. You had to do something to make life happy. And so I had to do the jokes, and they have to laugh, and I said, ha. I never understood myself, why I did that. Because I didn't know what's in me. So did I have any wrong expectations when I wanted to have a woman? I sometimes am provoked to ask, would anyone marry me like that? You see, everyone has these expectations from the others. But he's not aware that they come from where? From a wrong motivation. Can my wife ever fulfill my needs? Can she ever understand me? Can she or can she not? You have no idea if someone understands you or not. It's a pure imaginary situation. She can sit in front of you and say, oh, yes, yes. And her mind is in Australia. Or you have never an idea if someone understands you or not. You know that? It's total, just, how can I say, interpreted. And I have many stories. If you would know what other things, what he has in his mind, you would be very, very surprised what they think. So when they don't fulfill our needs, we get like this, yes? And the result is physical disease, yeah? Because we expect them to fulfill our needs. And I hope that we see that that is purely not a good thing. But every wrath, every discontentment, every strife, every controlling, every force comes because you need to act on others, to do your will. So, what is the truth? We are a creation, a created being. And a created being has how many expectations on others? How many? How many? No expectations. What can you expect from another created being? Would you ever expect from another created being to produce you oxygen? Yes or no? No, because we are all dependent on oxygen on the same source, on the air. Because in the same species, you never find the needs by the other individual. Yes, we have the same needs, but we cannot take it one from the other. Because we must take it from the same source. So we have no expectations. How many claims? No claims for ourselves, neither for God, nor others, nor myself. What is the gain? The fulfillment of my own duty. When I do things, then I am happy. And I am then unhappy when I don't do them like I should. So that's the reality. It's only what I do that matters, not what others do that matter. And then when others are doing the wrong thing, I can be friendly. I don't know if anything here is normal ratings, but you will correct me later. So the health of the body will be guaranteed because I won't be there to just demand anything from anyone. So we had some proofs last night that we all believe we are gods. But I was thinking today to give you some proofs that we are not. Do you need that? You need some proofs that we are not God? What is the one proof? I mean, there are more proofs. What is it? What does prove a creator, or what does prove a creature. And the one is independent, that is the creator. The creature is always dependent. The one is a closed system, lives from itself, and it's a circle. That's why I paint God always as a circle. And every creature is a channel that does not live for itself, but it takes in order to give. Dependency proves to be a creature. Who is independent is no creature. Yes? Is that simple? Are you dependent? If you're not dependent, then you are a God. But as long as you have needs to be fulfilled so that you can function well, you must be a creature. You must be a creature. So, in this universe, there are two kinds of laws. And I've never been a lawyer, but you see, as a medical doctor, you need to know the law. There are only two kinds of laws. There is the fundamental law, or the basic law, how I call it, and you now know it. Everything in this universe, from the smallest thing until the most developed, let's see, the human, nothing can exist from itself. It must take in order to give. Input and output is never missing in anything, in no smallest cell, in no smallest thing. You will always have the input and the output. And the secondary laws in the universe are that all is dependent on time, temperature, pressure, space, speed. There are 7 things that shows all the secondary laws, and from these 7 dependencies on outward things, you can calculate anything of a reaction in this universe. So at the bottom of it, everything is very simple. Now, yes, why are the secondary laws secondary? Because they are individual. Not everything needs the same time in order to function. Not everything needs the same temperature in order to function. Not everything needs the same pressure to function. And so this would just be an example of the secondary laws. Can we trust the secondary laws? They are absolute, but you must take care of the temperature. By example, how many things are dependent on temperature that you know? How many things? All things are dependent on temperature. And we see it with the water. Water has 3 states, yes? So, fluid, frozen, and gas. And who determines all these states? Temperature. Yeah? So you change the temperature, you change the circumstances, the laws are also changing. So, just to have a little bit of an overview of the laws of nature. So what is that what makes us difficulties? If you are a God, you think you don't need to take. And if we want and know by the law that there must be a cause for everything, then the law proves that God must exist because he is the cause of everything. Yes? Because if we would have no cause, then we would be an effect without a cause, and the law does not permit that there should be ever an effect without the cause. So let us look a little bit closer to our earth, not to the universe. We have 3 forms of life on earth, and we have matter. Yes? So this is, plants. This is our cat when she was still a good cat. A baby cat. Now she's not so, she scratches sometimes, but I keep distance so I'm safe. And This is a family from the internet. Are they, are they connected to each other? Are we connected? Yes. On our earth, all things are interconnected. We call that ecosystem. Yes? And the ecosystem says, and at the root of every ecosystem of everything is that everything needs first to take in order to give. And this is so fantastic that you find nothing on earth that has the purpose to take. Everything has the purpose to give. Taking is just needed that you do this. So we take a plant. Yes? Why do you put, I enjoy the tomatoes from Margaret's garden. They have a little bit of taste of Romania because back in Romania there was the old seed which has really was tasty, but now the European Union brought the Holland type of tomatoes and they have no taste. They are like gum, you know. And yeah, but still some people have the old seed where when you taste the tomato, it's tasty. Yeah, and so why would you put the tomato seed into the ground? For what purpose? To give you something or to take you something? To give you something. 1 tomato for 1 seed or 10 tomatoes or 100 tomatoes for 1 seed? You see, that's in nature. It's only when it is giving, it's multiplying. You see, you can see that, and I hope you see, everything must multiply by giving. You put 1 seed, you get 100 tomatoes. And how much of those tomatoes the tomato seed says it's mine? Nothing. It makes it to give. And someone else takes it on, yes? Let's see, we eat it. And where do we put it? In our stomach, and we give it. Some part the body takes and goes on, but someone goes further down to the bacteria. And our bacteria are very happy. Yes, they take the rest of it, and what do? They change it and give something further. And that what they give, they take out to the earth, and the earth takes it, and to whom does it give it? Back to the tomato seed. You know, the farmers know that circle. Yes, they do it with the animals. They take the animal, how you call that in English? Don't matter. So, you have understood. Everything takes to give. And no one keeps anything for itself. There is one exception. You know who's the exception? The human spirit. The human spirit gives in order to receive. Is that possible or impossible? It's impossible. And how can I prove that that is impossible? And I tell you, I proved all these things on my own patients. And that what gave me the most insight in disease and how it happens was a child. And I'm very fortunate that I became an ENT doctor, because as ENT doctors, you have all ages of patients and both genders, yes? So it's a fantastic field, yes? And I always wanted to have a small field with overview and being fast in the way I see things. So, children, let's see how where does a child come from and how it develops. And let us learn that lesson that is most important, I believe, for us all to understand. So we have seen the mother has a body and the spirit, and this is the brain with the cortex, and the spirit's mother must do the electricity. So where does the child grow In the mother's womb or on the mother's womb? In or on? Yes, you know, even if you have never sawn and you have no idea of anatomy, you know by law that the child cannot grow in the mother. How many bacteria grow in us? Well, that's some of the ideas that we get out there, that we have more bacteria in us than cells. But have you ever considered if that is the truth or not? If you would have more bacteria than cell, you would be dead. The bacteria are on us, not in us. When you have them in you, you have a septicemia. You have anything that's not right. Bacteria just grow on us because the intestine is not us, it's outside of us. It's on the surface. Your intestine surface is an outside surface. Yes? It's not in us. So a child grows out where? Up where? On the mother's womb. So where do the two half cells meet? In an open space or not an open space? Yeah, they meet in an open space. Yes, that's the tubes. Yeah? There they meet. And then they start multiplying. And then they come down into the uterus, where they do what? Who attaches himself to whom? The mother to the child or the child to the mother? Why? There's a principle. The law says, he who is in need needs to go to take. Has the mother a need for a child? No. But does the child need the mother? Yes. So that's why the umbilical cord of the child goes out from the child in order to take. Okay? So the child attaches to mom. The placenta is part of the child, not part of the mother. Okay? So, now, why does the child attach to mother? Is it dependent or independent? How much is the body of the child for its chemistry needs dependent on the mother's body? 100% dependency. So whatever the mother eats ends up where? Not everything ends up in the child, only that which penetrates the placenta. Yes? Because you know those two are separated. So only that what penetrates the placenta comes into the mother's, into the child's blood circulation and also feeds the child. So, if a mother drinks alcohol, who is drunken? The child is drunken. Who made the child drunken? So the child took it with a choice or no choice? But you cannot say the mother made the child drunken because the mother just fed her own body and the child feeds its own from mother. So yes, mother needs to take care what she eats because the child eats as well from that. So here we have no issues, do we? But the question is, the spirit of the child, where does it come from? And here, if we work and everything that works in us is governed by the Spirit must be exactly from the beginning, half from mother, half from father. How that goes, I don't know, I never saw a spirit. But I know that the cells would not be able to multiply and go on without power. And there must be not only power, but coordination. Coordination. So the spirit of the child binds itself to mom. But let's look to mom first. Does mom need to feed her body? Is she dependent or not? Yes. On what? On nature. So mother takes from nature, the child takes from mother. That's the equation. So the spirit of the child binds to its mother for what reason? To take. Everything that spirit binds itself is trust, because he must trust, so that's why he binds up to mother. Does he have a choice to whom he trusts? No. He must trust his mother, and he binds to his mother. He has no other choice. Now, how much is the child's happiness dependent on what mother thinks? How much? How much? 100%. 100%. 100%. Because he has no way to not be dependent. And you can see that the spirit of the child builds the whole body. And if he's not happy during pregnancy, he might build the body wrongly. Because he is the only one that can do all this governing of the development. Because you must know, if today my spirit governs my blood sugar, governs all my hormones and everything, he must do that from the very beginning of my inception. Yeah? He doesn't come sometimes later in or there. It must be from the beginning. And I have spiritual attitudes that I see in my father. Yes? We think inclination is in the genes. It's not in the genes. Spiritual inclinations, tastes, whatever we have, yeah? We inherit that in our spirit. Yes? Where does the spirit of the bird knows how to open up a nut? Never saw one open him up a nut. Have you seen how birds open nuts? They either go up and let them fall down, so to crash, or they take a stone and put it on to open up. Never one showed it to them. And they still do it. So, everything that moves must have a spirit. So our child, or the child, needs to take from mom. And like it takes from mom, that is how it is developed. And I could tell you many stories that I saw in my life. But now, because what the child takes from mom, he must give as electricity to its own body. So is the mom free of taking from somewhere, or must she also be attached to someone? The spirit of mom, is it an independent spirit, or is she dependent? On whom is the mother dependent to take? You see, you always can see that on the child. Yeah? So, usually husband, or mother, or father, yes? Those are the main sources that the mother takes. Are those satisfying to the mom? Can she live from that? Can she not? No, because the husband is on work, yeah? And what happens after husband is gone? Because you know what is good in men? They like to work. You know why they like to work? Some of them at least. I'm one that loves to work all the time. You know why? Because work is purpose. Yes? When we do a job, when we give, then we are fulfilled. The more we give, the better. But the husband and the mother and the father cannot satisfy the spirit of the mother. So mother should better take there where it should be. Then if she would take from God, then the child would have a very good spiritual life. But unfortunately, the mother doesn't take from there, so the child has an issue. Now, after 9 months, usually the child is delivered, and we cut off the umbilical cord of the child from mom. Can now mom eat what she wants? Yes. Will it affect the child? No, if she does not breastfeed. Mom can drink and smoke, whatever she wants. It doesn't matter. But is the child independent now, or must it take from somewhere else? The child needs to take from nature. And we must know also this principle: the source where you take is always bigger than the one that takes it. Okay? The source must be bigger than us. Is nature bigger than us? Yes or no? Yes. Have you ever made yourself thoughts that you one day will have no water? Did you ever think about that? I didn't. Because how much water is there on earth? Plenty. Yes? So there's enough water. Have you ever made wonder about air? No. There's enough air in nature. And even food. Is there enough food? Yes, there is. If we would not destroy nature, there would be even more. And everyone could be fed. Because everything, fed, not fed. Yeah, fed. I hope fed. So, yes, you see, your mind works by interpretation. So, fed. Yeah, fed. That's okay. Okay, so the body of the child now is dependent for chemistry from outside, from a bigger source. Mom is the bigger source. Now mom is insufficient. Now it has to go to a bigger source where it has sufficient. Now, what happens with the spiritual umbilical cord when the child is born? What happens with that? Is it cut away? No, why not? How do we know that the spiritual cord, this cord is still existent after birth? I tell you, I didn't know I tell this here, but we had no children of our own. So when we took by accident, because these children were left alone by their parents, and we didn't plan ever to take foster children, they were just in need, and so we took them. The youngest was 7 and the oldest 17, so I never observed how they work as a little child. But I got a chance in my practice. My helper got married when I took her as an employee. She was younger, and now she got married. And when you get married, you get a child. And after 1 year being home with the child, she wants to come back to work. And I say, stay home because your child needs you home. And I knew about the umbilical cord, so I said, but she said, no, we build a house, I have to come to work, and so on. And so I said, okay, let's do a compromise. You bring the child and we raise him here together. I didn't do it unselfishly, I'm very honest. I had a great interest to see how a child develops firsthand. And so I took the room next to my consulting room. It was a big room. We put all the children's stuff there, a bed and something. And for 2 years and a half, I raised a child at my practice. He sometimes saw how I did surgeries or small things because someone had to keep him. So he was my assistant, very young age. What do you think? This child was a wonderful child. I mean, every child is wonderful, but he liked to eat like I liked to eat. Yes. So we sat together in the kitchen to eat. And his mom is a German mom, so German moms are quite relaxed moms. And she gives the child puts the food in front of him, and he just, with 1 ear, starts to. The banana gets half to the ground, but something gets inside as well. So no worries. They work through. And I was sitting with him, and when I was eating with him, she went to do some work, because if not, he takes all her time. But how long could he stay with me alone? It was only a few minutes, if it were a few minutes. In the moment he could walk, he just jumped down from his own, had a special seat. If he could not get out, I had to take him out because he was crying. And where did he go? Search for doctor? No. Never occurred to him. But tiki, where is mom? You see, the spirit of the child is like a vacuum cleaner. And he must attach to mom every few seconds. He must make sure mom is present. And you see, we can prove that by experiment. I knew it before any experiment was done because I saw it in the body. But scientists did the experiment with children and with mothers. You have known maybe from that? They measured the brain current, the electrical current of the brain of the mother and of the child. And you know what they observed? Whenever the mother changes its electrical current, the child switches also. And they did it on distance. And it works until a certain distance. Whenever the mother changed the current, the child changed it in the same mode. And now the scientists, what do they come up with? How shall they explain it? And they must get something out, and so they got a very nice word. There are mirror neurons. Mirror neurons. Okay? So the nervous cell of the child's brain mirror in the mother's brain. Now, doesn't that not sound very scientific? And I wonder sometimes, say, how much mind do you need to have to see there is no mirror in the brain? You know, the brain is shut up in darkness. There is not even blood in the brain. It's just in a liquid there, everything hermetically closed. Now it mirrors on a distance. How shall that happen? How shall that be? What kind of a connection shall that be? And even when we know the law, how could they make themselves their electrical current? How would they make their impulse? But you will always see in the child's body what he takes from mom. And the experiment just proves that there is a spirit that is connected to mom until a certain distance. If the distance is too long, the child loses the connection to mom. And then he gets sick. Then he gets problems. And I saw basically two causes of a child's disease. Either the spirit of mom is unhappy woman because it does not take where it should by default, and the child then makes its body sick. So that's one cause, and the next one is if we separate the child from mom so that it's like you take the fish out of the water. And when I started first in my practice and I saw the little children, in the moment mother goes to work, or in the moment mother puts the child in the kindergarten, the child starts with sickness. A sickness after sickness. I had one mom, she gave her child to the kindergarten, and after 4 days he got a cold. You know, common cold, nose was running. She kept the child home for 2 weeks. The child recovered. She sends him back to kindergarten. Exactly 4 days later, the child is sick again. And that happens 9 times until she gets into my practice. 9 times. Why would a mother not stop after seeing it happen 2 times or 3 times? At the 5th time, why would mother not say, okay, something is wrong in these things? But then you go to the child doctor, and the child doctor says, oh, that's important. There must be bacteria. This immune system must raise up. And I say, where would a farmer ever say when a plant is sick, it's normal? It is a stage of normal development. When we are sick, something is wrong. When the head is hurting, something is wrong. When the nose is running, something is wrong. When the ears are starting to run or whatever happens, it is something that makes us alert to do something about it. We must know where it comes from. So, when we separate mother, and I had the funniest reactions in children when mother goes to work. One mother had 2 children. I don't know what a symptom it got, but the smallest child started to vomit. And the vomiting could not be stopped. The child got into dehydration. Mother had to stop work and had to go to the hospital. You know what happened in the hospital? Did the child vomit? 0. Child recovers, gets perfusion, eats well. Mother comes home, goes next day to work, and child starts to vomit again. I have seen in my practice, no one needs to, and I never read books much because I don't trust them, but what I see, what I can taste myself and what I can put there, I just know how it works. At this little child that was raising in my practice, I could tell on his ears, on his running nose, what was going on at home with his mom and his dad. You can see it. I just looked to the child's ear and I said, what's going on? Because the child is the mirror of what he takes from mom. My own daughter is living with me, and the little boy, 4 years old, just got a otitis, yes, otitis media, an ear infection, yes, of the drum on his left ear. And where does it come from? Yes, there are stresses. Yes, we cannot always avoid. But you know, a child can get an ear infection in 2 hours after the parents have a fight. I had a little baby. The child reacts to what parents do intensely because it's very little, a little thing of a stress brings the child into great distress. Almost all problems that a child has is because mother and father do not get along well. Almost all things come there. So there is a spiritual connection. But there is a spiritual connection also to the animals are dependent on us, you know that? We had a dog, and there's a San Bernard, and he got sometimes depressed, didn't want to walk. And back then, when we had the dog, I was said, why does the dog get depression? Or, another times, one of the limbs was limping, yeah? He didn't walk well, no pain. And then he sometimes vomited when I went out with him in the wood. And I said, why does he vomit? You see, until one time I had an argument with my wife. And my wife is the love source of the dog. Yes, from beginning he chose her. That was his problem. He chose her. because she fed him and she loves him, and And I had an argument, and a day later, the dog had depression. I said, wow. The problem is, the dog lives from my wife. And since then, I could know what is in the head of my wife, going in the morning with the dog. You see, you never ask your wife, how are you doing? But the dog tells it to you. I said yesterday, when I went up and I came home, I said, look, the dog has vomited. What did go on in your life yesterday? What kind of a problem do you have? And my wife has many problems, so the poor dog. but finally, he died with 11 years on a tumor on his larynx, on his vocal cord. The poor dog smoked his whole life. Did he? He smoked, he drank alcohol. Can you ever get a larynx tumor? The same tumor like we have. Yes, it's the same tissue, like the same tumor like we have. But he never smoked. But he was what? Depressed. He was depressed. And he got his tumor by taking that from his source. And I did another experiment with a cat. We have a home cat now because the dog died and my wife wanted a cat. But I had a patient who got cancer and he had a cat. And while he was 6 weeks in the hospital, his cat almost died. She was rescued with perfusions and all this kind of things. But then he came home, and for 2 years I took care for this patient with his cancer. And when he could not come into my practice anymore, I went home to his own home to take care at his home. He had a sinus tumor. The cat, and after 2 years he died. He passed away. And I was now curious what would happen with the cat. Guess what happened? No, she didn't die. She died later, but it took a year or two until she died. But she got, after 4 or 5 months, I'm not yet sure exactly the time, diabetes type 1. So how does a cat get diabetes type 1? And you have to put her insulin all the time when you fed her. What puts her pancreas into work and what makes her pancreas to stop? Because she suffers the loss as well. She has no choice. When her love source dies, she must have the problem. Have you seen how dogs suffer when they lose or when they get lost? You see, when we have pets, we must be very aware they work similar than us. And they need a love source. I want to give an ultimate example because I could stay here the whole night because this is my favorite topic. Mothers and child always was my main interest. And I can tell you from my experience, maybe I do that another time, how many diseases I had just because my mom, poor mom, was an unhappy woman. And she did not get along well with my father and my father with her. From a very young age, maybe I tell it now, we have time till midnight. From a very young age, I got pneumonia. I almost died at 2 months. At the age of 1, I had a nervous tic. I had to jump in my bed. I had to twist my body in order to fall asleep. And I had this nervous tic till I was 14 or 15 years old. I had to put my hand in the bag so that I get more speed. so that then you fall asleep. It must look weird, but I had it. Then I could not keep my urine in the night. I was a night weather, or how you call this in, yes? And then I could not speak well. The R didn't get out of my mouth. With 4 or 5 years, I got a inguinal hernia. With 6 years, I got a surgery. I still remember the surgery, how they cut off here. And that experience is still in my mind. Then, with 8 years, my parents separated. And 1 week later, I got hepatitis B. And I was shut up in a hospital in quarantine for 3 weeks. I remember I was in a prisonership there. But there I lost my being in bed in the night because somehow I was ashamed because we were 6 people or 8 in the room. And it went through my mattress on the bottom. And in the morning you saw the lake. And so I came home, I lost it. But I came home from the hospital and I got hyperactive. From the age of 8 to 14, my mother could do nothing with me. I was just going to school and didn't come home anymore. Whatever I did, no one could control me. I never asked, can I do this or can I do that? Because I always did what I wanted. Yes? When some colleagues from school asked me and said to me, I go to ask my mom. I said, what? Do you ask? Let's do it. So that's how I was from the age of 8 to 14. I got a friend, my love source. He had no mom as well. His mom was left to another country. And so we started a friendship. We were connected all the time together. Where he was, I was, and where I was, he was. They always knew it. It's time to finish. Very fast. We were united. When we didn't go to school and both were not at school, the teacher knew something was wrong. They were not sick. So they sent home and saw in his home if he was sick, and they sent to me home if I was sick, and they didn't find us home. And then we got our portion of love when we get home. My poor mom was totally, she did not know what to do with me. Yes, but with 14, he left to Germany to his mom, where mom went, and I became from one day to another a quiet person. But next symptom was my teeth started to fall out. I got all this, how you call it? Decay, all this, yes. And I got some nice repairs with amalgam, plums, yes, you put that in. With 15, I got migraine. Had terrible headaches. I all the time had tonsillitis and pus on both sides. With 27, I was a medical student. I took them out, thinking I solved the problem. But after that, I got panic attacks. And panic attacks are worse than tonsillitis. But I got the panic attacks. Then I got issues with my back, my stomach, and it went on. And no one told me what's the problem. What's the problem? So, as a child, you have to take, and as an adult as well, but you don't know that you take spiritually. You don't know that you take spiritually. And we must know that that is a law like the law that we need to eat. You can always see on the child's body from where he feeds, and also on the adult body from where he feeds, because the spirit cannot be independent. If I would have had an independent spirit, no disease I would have ever had, because my parents didn't get along well. So when we want to have healthy children, mother needs to love father. You know why? Because the child looks to everything to mother's eyes. What mother loves, the child loves too. Yeah? So it's fantastic to see how that works. And all those who are mothers and not, they can relate to it. A child is always hanging on to its mom because it has no choice. One day, a mother came to me after one of my presentations, and she showed me her 2-year-old child, a girl, and her behavior. There are two ways a child reacts. Either it is with a physical disease that shows up in the body, or it's just a disorder on brain level where you have no ability to control yourself. So you have wrong behavior, yes, uncontrolling behavior or disease. Those are the two basic symptoms that we find in children and even in adults as well. So this child did behave wrongly. She showed strange behavior, and the mother asked me why. What did I tell her? Because there must be something there that's wrong. And so I asked the mother, and the mother was a medical student in the 3rd year. Her dream was to become a doctor. And now I said to her, look, that you want to become a doctor is no basic need, is it? But that your child is dependent on you, his life hangs on that. Now, you cannot change nature's law. You need a bear baby is not left by the bear mother unless the bear baby is ready to go. So humans should be smarter than bear mothers, should it? Or elephant mothers, or however mothers are there. However, I said to her, your child needs you, because her grandparents took care of her child while she was at school. And she didn't like it, what I said. But a few months later, we met again in another place, and she invited me to her home and said, I want to talk to you. What shall I do? And I said, well, the demands of the natural law says you need to take your child with you at the uni if you really want to study, because you cannot let it with your grandma. The grandma is not her love source. It's not what the grandma does to the child. You see, our wrong idea that a child needs to be loved means that it doesn't matter who loves it. Yes? If a helper is kind or dad is kind, we think that's fine. But it's not so. The child picks up the signal. It's not that what the mother does, but what is in the mother, that determines the child's happiness and well-being. And so this mother also had other issues as well. We talked about that. She had great difficulties in her past, but we fixed that. She could undo those things so that she had nothing to be unhappy in her, but she didn't want to give up necessarily her medical school. And I left it like that, and I said, that's up to you, it's your responsibility, but you must know, you can study medicine when you're 60, and it doesn't matter. But this child is now 2 years old, and it is in its stage of development. It's not ready. You know when a child is ready? When is the child ready? When it's adult, when it can take care for itself. Then it's ready. But now I tell people, do you take it out of your womb with 7 months, just you like it? No, because on physical, we see it, but on spiritual thing, we don't see the dependency. And so, a half a year later, no, even more than half a year later, I was in another place, and she came to see me. And she said, I put my medical school for 1 year. I quit it for 1 year. You know, you just freeze 1 year. And she said, you have no idea how the child reacts. What do you think how the child reacts? She was so mistrustful that she says almost every day, really, you have renounced to stay home just for me? Couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it. And then after that 1 year, she calls me and says, what shall I do? Do I ever say what people should do? No. There is a law. There is something that is there fixed in nature. You cannot play with it. And I said to her, you know what to do. So she froze another year. And during this other year, she got a second baby. And so the uni is frozen till she gets 60, so she can go to study. But this woman, she really, I appreciate, she understood the law of life. And now she is working together with her child and taking care for other mothers. She has more influence to the good than ever she would have become a doctor. And just doing a doctor's, I say so, normal things. Let's take off, I have finished and then. So, we can always see that the child is dependent on a mom, not on a dad in first place. Yes? A child and mother is a unity that no one can change. There is no stronger unity than a child to its mother. But the mother should not be bound to the child. So, when the child, in the education of the child, the mother must teach the child that the child should unwean its umbilical cord from her and bind it to the bigger cord that is God. That is the whole process. So that the child can live without its mom perfectly as an individual being dependent on two neutral sources, so to say, that are bigger than they are. So let's look what happens with our spirit when the child has this blindness thinking it's God. So first it builds, when it gets a little bit older, it binds to the father. For which purpose? To take. It binds to the grandmother. For which purpose? To take. It binds to the brother. For which purpose? To take. Why do they fight? You know that it's never a fight for giving. It's always a fight for taking. And never you have a fight for giving. Yes? The spirit of the friend, the spirit of the neighbor, everyone. The child binds just for one purpose, to take. Because this error doesn't allow to bind freely in order to give. But at the same time, the error says, the others must love me. So the child not only takes it, doesn't know it takes, it claims love from mom. And if mom is not good, then it is not happy with mom. When father does not the right thing, it is not happy with father. It is the spirit of the grandmother, the spirit of the brother. Always the child claims, and if they are in a religious family, then they even claim from God to be loved. It's a terrible situation. It's a terrible situation. We don't see what we in reality do. So, the main idea from tonight is one idea. We must be aware that we have a spirit that is dependent on another spirit. And to whom I am bound to, that is my destiny. If it's my mom, if it's my dad, I have to be bound to someone. There is never a possibility that the spirit should not attach to someone. He must attach. Like my nose must bind itself to nature, so my spirit must bind itself to another spirit. And that attachment is that what determines my life or not. Because I can only give what I took before. So tomorrow night we will look into this law of relationships. We must know what type of relationship do we have to have. Do we have to have dependent relationship or independent? Rigid relationships or flexible relationships with each other. Because every problem, if you come up tomorrow and say, I have a problem that's not a relationship problem, I will prove it to you that's not so. Because there is no problem that the Spirit has except with His relationships. And if in our heart we would know who we are, we would put our relationships correctly. I forgot, I have one more. Sorry. In our heart, we think we give in order to receive. That's impossible. We must always take, but we don't see where we take from. We don't see that our spouse or mother or child or pet, yes, you know how people are sick when their pet is dying? Yes? So this is where the problem is. We don't see that we take from there. It's unknown to us. And we live in the illusion that we give anything from ourselves. And we must get free from the illusion, and we must know from whom we take and come out of self-deception. Tomorrow, we will look to this basic law of life and how our relationship has to work. And I think when we get that straight, then there is hope for recovery for every problem that we have. I want to say one thing more. Mothers never get into guilt thoughts when you hear these lectures. Most mothers get into guilt thoughts because they think they could do anything about it. No. As long as a person does not have any knowledge about how the things work and has no choice to change, there is no guilt. Yes? And I don't tell mothers to feel guilty because that will do the child more good or bad. Bad, because that's what the child then takes from mother, destroys that. So we must just know the things how they are. And we don't need to look back, but we can look to the now and say, I can do this change and go according to the laws, or do it however I do it. We are free to break the laws, but we are not free to know what consequences will about that. But let us not have guilt, because guilt is a deception as well. It makes very, very sick. We will have maybe one night speaking also about guilt or forgiveness, because we have there a lot of issues. But I tell you, there is no more poisoning to our body than guilt. Yes, because it is a deep deception in our mind when we have guilt thoughts. So let us put all deceptions aside and come to think the truth and be free. Any questions for tonight? Yes.
What things don't come from, accidents and things like this? Some things aren't related to what's happening in our minds or whatever. What things are totally separate?
There's nothing that is totally separate. We have to interpret even accidents or whatever. We have to interpret that. Yes, but then we can see the injury in our body. We can see that. So that's not our problem. We just need to know the principle of the attachment that is necessary. Yes, and there is no way out. That we still live, even though the attachment is wrong. I rose up in a dysfunctional family or whatever, and I'm still alive. That's God's grace, but the laws are like they are. They cannot be changed. So is that your question? I don't know.
Well, how bones wear out and things like that,
Bones don't wear out.
Well, the fluid goes between and people get,
By what does the fluid go?
I don't know.
Well, just by the mind, the fluid goes. Yeah. So everything in our body must be governed. It's not age that does it.
Doesn't age do something?
Well, yes, it changes metabolism, but that's physiological. Yeah? That doesn't bring pain, that doesn't bring dysfunctions. That is just that things are not so like they were before, but that aging and disease are two different things. Because we must understand, we live. our body is renewing itself. I mean, it is renewed, not itself. It is renewed again and again and again. My finger is not old. It's just a few months or, because every tissue will grow and go away, grow and go away. The bones that we have are maybe 7 years old, but not older. Because the bone is not something that is there. It's built and upbuilt. It's built and, everything is in a metabolism except our brain, which is in a slower metabolism.
Fetal alcohol syndrome babies. Does that just damage?
The fetal alcohol syndrome? Well, we would put it on the alcohol, no? But maybe it's not the alcohol because it's the sorrow and the worries that the mother has. That's why she must drink alcohol. Yes, we only take the physical things. We don't see that no one drinks just because he has lost to drink. People are broken. That's why they recur to something that makes them a little bit more happy. But we then want to take the alcohol away instead of helping them to remove their problems so that they don't need the alcohol anymore. So we must have an understanding for the brokenness of the human being that we don't do the things because we want. We are just slaves to the circumstance because we don't know how we have to deal with them. That's our problem. What causes babies to be born? Only problems that the mother has in her mind. Yes.
When you talk about the spirit and we're obviously connected to it with the Lord, how does someone consciously be aware of the spirit with, getting to acknowledging the spirit, being like one with the spirit, like consciously aware?
I mean, we have a spirit. We are built up by a body and a spirit. And it's our spirit by which we think, yes? And take things aware. Because the brain, we said in the second night, cannot see, cannot hear, cannot smell. Yes, that's only the capacities of a spirit, but in connection to the brain and to the body and to those outside receptors of the information. But we work with our spirit, yeah? It's our tool by which we do things, yeah? We have a spirit that does all the actions. We govern it, yeah? Not another one, yeah? And I explained that in the second night and how the function is. Please.
If a child has been in an environment where they're not loved, and like that, what you're saying is that from a very early age, the mother isn't happy or doing something, and then the child becomes its own person. It learns to take from another source, whether that's God or whether that's its name is.
Yes.
And it grows into a functioning adult, but it gets sick. Are people, as that child who's now an adult, are they aware of the influences that create that sickness in them, or do they just become a person with issues, with sickness?
Yes, they are not, we are not aware because we don't know our spiritual dependency. Things we think we're God, we think we are not spiritual dependent. But we can never take our umbilical cord away from a person we once were attached. So moms, the attachment to moms remain forever. Yes? We don't take that away except we have, and we will see in one of the nights, how we have to take that away. Yes? Because if we never detach from mom, we just add all other people to it. And then, of course, when you're a teenager, you're more interested in a boyfriend or a girlfriend, but mom is still the main attachment. And when you get a little bit older, you come back to your mom. Mom is the strongest person, But she must be replaced with God. If not, you just die with mom. Yeah. Pardon? No, the mother doesn't get exhausted. No. No, this is a wrong perception, because, imagine you can never get exhausted if you only give what you took before. And on spiritual level, you cannot get exhausted because you take in order to give. But you see, our deception, and we will talk tomorrow night, gives in order to receive. That's why when you don't receive, you think you get exhausted. So we must understand, it's not that the child is not loved or so. It's what the child takes. Mother can love the child as much as she wants. If she is unhappy, if she has issues, the child will have issues. And they have a good relationship. It's not that they have not a good relationship. It's that the child must take all that what mother has in her. And yes, we were 4 children. I reacted the worst to it. My oldest brother was not so sensitive. My younger was a little bit less than me. And my sister was almost similar to me, but she was also very affected. She had similar disease, not so bad as I had. So if you don't understand that everyone needs to be dependent, but he takes, it's not what mother does. I hope we will come tomorrow night to see that. It's not what the other person does to you that affects you. Because if that would be it, then the other person needs to change anything. No, it's just my perception as I see it, because I have to take. So we must, because we have no solution if someone else hurt us. We must see that the child hurts itself without a choice. I must drink the alcohol because my mother drinks it. Yeah, I must react according to my mom because she is like that, or my father, or my husband, or my wife. You will see that people always orient themselves according to the love source where they take from. This is what I wanted to share, that we should understand. We are spiritually dependent, and we must see it, and we must do something about it. Please.
Yeah, I was just wondering about hereditary disease, for instance, like muscular dystrophy, and just how that rolls out, because when a mother carries the gene of muscular dystrophy and then it's passed on to a male gene, then that child has to grow up and will eventually die of muscular dystrophy. However, the attachment between mother and son, while they're journeying, can actually be quite strong, and they will actually can be quite a mesh. But I just wanted to hear from you how you explain that.
Well, there are a few diseases that are there from the beginning, yes. If they're inherited or they come during pregnancy, it's discussable, yes, seeing how it is. But how a disease, even inherited, evolves or not, is very dependent on the circumstances the child is in. Yes? So even when I have patients with muscular dystrophy, and their muscles function very interestingly according to their stress level. Yeah? So would they be more relaxed in what they would have to do because they are not, attached to difficult situations or persons? Then it would be well with them, and they can get to an old age with the inability, yes, like the things. So there is a wide range of reactions from all kinds of so-called inherited diseases or inherited situations. So we can do very much about things if we just would know where to act. And yes, on a disabled child, I cannot do so much, but they are not disabled mentally, so we can teach, we can help. And I think the most problems is that we don't know our spiritual dependency because we think we are independent spiritually. That's our bottom problem. We don't see that we are dependent from others to take, and we just must be independent to others because we have one dependency and all others must be independent. Yes.
Just touching on when you were saying you had illnesses as a child and stuff due to your mother and the relationship, she was obviously unhappy. For children that are going through a similar thing, say up to the age of 10 or something like that, and suffering from these illnesses, what sort of advice could somebody give to the child to prevent this? Is it inevitable, basically, due to the circumstances going through? Is there some way you can break it by telling them, or is it that the connection with God that they need to have?
Well, I think the child is very young to do that. Yes, so at the age of 10, I would talk to the parents. Yeah, I would advise some to the child because I think one of the nights I had the youngest girl that wanted to counsel with me was 9 years old because she had fears and she had a selective mutism. Yeah, she does not speak except to her mom, and yeah. So, and I talked to her because of fears. So I tried to explain how fear works at a child level so that she can understand it. But I must know that the capacity of a child is reduced because reason is not yet where it should be. So the most important thing is to talk to parents. And parents are interested in the well-being of their children. So there we can help when we explain to the parents the things. And I have seen, like in this case what I shared, this lady could give up her own life for the life of the child. And if parents would know how important it is that they need to get well with each other for at least the child's purpose, they might do some sacrifices, I would think, because they see, oh, look what I do, because my child is dependent on me. It has to go after what I think or what I do. Yeah. So I think the most important thing, what I wanted to make us all clear, we are dependent spiritually, and we must be on a spiritual dependency that no one can take us away. Like we have air, no one can take us the air away, yes? Basically, there is enough, or water. And so love being the first need that we have, we cannot await that someone should give it to us, yeah? Or that someone should be, the well must be always available and accessible. If not, how shall we work? Yeah. Please.
I've just got a question about, like, when you go to sleep and then you dream, does that spirit connecting with God or a family spirit in a way? Or a friend, or whoever was met that day? Or?
Now, when we dream, it is only a connection between our brain and our spirit. And during the night, that's what we put during the day in our brain through the spirit. Yes, the spirit must write everything down into the brain. It is sorted during the night. Yes, and then so during the night, it depends what kind of situations we went through that day, or maybe, yes, when the people have nightmares and so on, there are things that must be addressed to see what is there stored that are bringing up all these things. Yeah, because we dream basically our own dreams, because our information comes up and must be sorted out. As everyone, they say dream, and I dream, I hope you dream, and but when we have bad dreams, then we can see sometimes inside of us and say, oh, that is fear, that is this, that is that. Yeah? Because we are not aware what's in us subconsciously. Yes. Yes. Yes, we have to fix. We cannot fix the child, but we can fix the environment of the child. Yeah? Because the child has no choice. It must take from that source. Yeah. Because we were made to be happy all the time. A child has no need for sadness. Yeah? And if it must take sadness from mom, it will want to do good to mom. It would want to make mom happy. And by wanting to make mom happy, the child is just forcing it on mom. I had a mother, she had a 13-year-old child. She was a mother that was growing up her child alone. And the mother came for counseling, and she complained that she had no husband and all this. And then when the meeting was over and I shook hands with her at the end, and I said she should, I'd said a few words of encouragement, but then the mother said, yes, but I need the love of a man. I don't know what she said exactly, but her 13-year-old daughter stood there and said, but mom, is it not enough for you that I love you? You see how sweet children are? Yes, they would make every mom happy if they could. Yes, and so the child cannot understand, mom, but I love you enough, so be happy. And children would even bring a man home that mom should be happy. They do it. They do it. They just are so driven to make mom happy. But they don't know they cannot do that. So mom must be happy and not the children. So I hope we understand this one thing. We are spiritually dependent, and we must figure out on whom we are dependent. And we must have a dependency where we have always success and always can do what we want, not what others are doing. So thank you very much.